The first bell had barely finished echoing through Lincoln Ridge Middle School when the room decided who mattered and who didn't, and it wasn't the quiet new girl standing near the back with her hands folded so tightly her knuckles had gone pale. It was the voice at the front of the room, sharp and confident, slicing through the morning air like it owned the place. Mrs. Caldwell had been teaching long enough to believe her authority was absolute, that her tone alone could bend truth into whatever shape she preferred, and when she noticed the new girl sitting silently while the others whispered and watched, something in her expression hardened, a look she had worn many times before but never questioned. She called attendance, pausing deliberately on the unfamiliar name, mispronouncing it twice even after the girl corrected her softly. The class laughed, not loudly, just enough to sting, and when Mrs. Caldwell asked where the transfer records were, the girl stood, voice barely above a whisper, explaining she had submitted them to the office, explaining she had moved 3 times in 2 years, explaining nothing with the calm dignity of someone used to not being believed. But Mrs. Caldwell's smile was thin and knowing, the kind that said, "I've already decided who you are." She tapped her pen against the desk and said, "That's not what the office says," though she hadn't checked. Then she tilted her head and added, "We don't start the year with lies in my classroom." The word lies landed heavy, and the room shifted, chairs creaked, eyes darted. The girl swallowed and tried again, hands trembling now, explaining her mother worked nights, explaining she had the paperwork at home, explaining too much, because people who are telling the truth often do when they're scared. But Mrs. Caldwell cut her off, accusing her of making excuses, of trying to gain sympathy, of pretending not to understand procedures. And when the girl's eyes filled but no tears fell, that seemed to satisfy her even more. She turned to the class and said, "This is what happens when students think rules don't apply to them." And she didn't say anything explicitly cruel, not a single word that could be quoted in a complaint. But the meaning was there, thick and unmistakable, hanging in the air like smoke, the kind of judgment that had followed the girl her entire life. And as the murmurs grew, one boy snickered, another whispered liar, and still the girl stood, silent now, because she had learned that defending herself only made it worse. The bell for homeroom activities rang, but Mrs. Caldwell waved it off, insisting on finishing the lesson. She told the girl to sit, then changed her mind and ordered her to the front instead, demanded she explain again, louder this time. And when the girl couldn't force the words out, Mrs. Caldwell sighed dramatically and announced that dishonesty would not be tolerated, assigning her detention before the first day had even begun. And in that moment something fragile broke, not loudly, not visibly, but enough that the room felt colder. The girl finally spoke, her voice shaking but steady enough to carry, saying she wasn't lying, saying she had never lied, saying she just wanted to learn. And for a fraction of a second there was silence, real silence, the kind that comes before a storm. But Mrs. Caldwell laughed softly and said, "Sit down before you embarrass yourself further." And that was when the door at the back of the classroom opened, not abruptly, not with drama, just a firm, controlled motion. Footsteps followed, measured and unmistakably confident, the kind that belonged to someone used to being obeyed. Conversations died instantly. Even Mrs. Caldwell turned, irritation ready on her lips, until she saw the man in uniform standing there, his presence filling the doorway without effort, silver stars catching the fluorescent light. 4 of them, arranged with precision, a 4-star general, eyes calm, unreadable, scanning the room with the kind of focus that missed nothing. The class froze, breaths held, and Mrs. Caldwell's pen slipped from her fingers, clattering against the desk far louder than it should have been, because everyone in that room understood, even if they didn't yet know why, that something had just changed forever. And as the general's gaze landed on the quiet new girl still standing at the front, shoulders squared despite everything, his expression softened almost imperceptibly, and when he spoke her name correctly, perfectly, the way it deserved to be spoken, the room didn't just freeze, it held its breath, waiting, because this was only the beginning. And if you want to know what happened next, how truth finally stood taller than prejudice, make sure you subscribe to the channel and stay with this story, because chapter 2 will reveal why the general walked into that classroom, and why no one would ever forget what followed.